G'day, this is Adam from AVA Magnetic Levitation Australia, doing another Mad Micro RC Mods video. If you're new to Micro RC, the cars that feature in this video are traditionally called cocaine cars, soda can cars, or cars in a can. Basically, they cost between $4 to $20 depending on where you get them from. You can get them online very cheap, but be aware if you do so you probably won't be getting the latest model, and if you have a problem with it, it'll be one of those tough luck situations. I got this bunch from RC Garage, mainly because they're the latest models, and if there was a problem with any of the cars, I'd either fix it myself and use it in a video, or if it was a major problem I couldn't handle, they'd just swap it over straight away, no questions asked. These cars basically are very, very well styled compared to ones in the past. They charge off the controller, which comes with the car. You get 4 little witches hats with it and some basic instructions. But pretty much all you have to do is put batteries in that, plug it in, charge it up, and away you go. I mean, they're that simple. It can be modified a great deal of different ways. I've done already a bunch of videos on this and plan to do a few more into the future. This video was going to be the Ford Focus project, but that'll be the next video. I went to RC Garage to buy some cars for the project, and lo and behold, they've got the newer models, which are slightly improved. I was actually a little bit surprised. And also the body kits on them are sort of a little bit nicer and tidier. They're the 1/64 scale cars, I believe, and the centre of gravity on them looks a little bit lower on the sporty ones. So I did Little Red with a lithium battery, but I never put a Planktrico full functioning kit in one. So eventually what I will do with this car is I'll put one of these units in there, a 60 milliamp hour battery and a Planktrico full function 3-channel receiver. But I got this car and I thought, you know, I haven't done a cocaine car build for a while. I'm going to do probably 3 cocaine car videos at once now. So I looked at this and thought, you know, it'd be nice to try and put the 158, which is the next size up. These cars at the back here are 158 ones. I'll just get one forward. It'd be nice to try and put the 158 wheels and tyres on one of these smaller cars and just see if they fit, or you can make them fit. So I've got a rear axle, and as you can probably see straight away, it's wider, a little bit wider, and it's also a slightly lower profile but a slightly larger tyre. So I'm probably going to have to either flare, which I don't know if I'm going to do the flaring. I don't know how the plastic will cope, and if I get it look nice, I'll probably just file some of the guard out, which I'll show you how to do. And the front wheels, same thing again. I've got some front wheels off a 158, which are same sort of profile, just a much larger wheel. So, you know, these wheels and tyres, same thing again. These wheels and tyres, one is back is a little bit larger, front is a little bit smaller. And fitting this front wheel in may be difficult because the stock ones really hug up inside the guards. So I may have to chop some of the guard out and maybe also just raise the body kit a little bit. So I'll show you how to do that as well. So first up, I'll just basically show some stock footage of this car, do the mods, and then we'll see how it handles, if it handles any differently or goes any faster after it's been modified. And yeah, I may, before the end of the video is out, I may get the soldering iron out and put a lithium battery in there just to see what happens next. I'm just curious of the newer models with the lower centre of gravity, with the big wheels on it, how much better it will handle than Little Red did. Little Red handled quite well on a good clean flat surface. The only thing I did do with Little Red in some of the footage I probably should have told people was I glued a 1 or 2 cent coin to the bottom of the car just to help with traction and handling. And I mean, you saw the footage. If you've watched the video, go and have a look. It didn't really make any difference to its speed. It really just helped the car handle and steer better. That was basically all. Oh yeah, and also on takeoffs, of course, the car was able to get traction. So, if you like what you see in these videos, please share, subscribe, spread. Let's get started. I'll show stock footage of this now, and then we'll start doing the mods. Okay, this will be the short version on how to do a big wheel swap on one of these small cars. Now these smaller scale cars tend to have two screws instead of one screw and a clip in front, but essentially it's the same board and same internal components. The larger scale cars have two reverse lights instead of one, and slightly different size wheels, but the gear ratios and everything else and all the electronics is pretty much identical. A lot of the times these smaller cars are actually of a high quality too. So the first thing you need to do is sort of free up your electronics. These front headlight LEDs, whatever they are, basically just clip in and out. You just want to pop them up and get them out of the way. You see the two fine copper wires running to the front of the car. They're your steering actuator wires. No matter what you do with the car during the mods and stuff, always be cautious of these. They're as fine as hair and they easily get damaged. Now the next thing you want to do, because you have to lift the board up a little bit to get to the screws at the front of the car for the steering section, and also you've got to unbolt the rear, you just want to lift up the wires a little bit very carefully just to make sure the board sort of moves freely and no wires are fouling or going to get jammed or anything when you start moving the board around or lifting it up. Now this is the aerial wire. You always just take this off. It's a quick and easy one. And then there's also the rear retaining screw, which is in the middle there. And yeah, you want to get that one off so that you can unclip the rear gearbox section and motor section, which I'm about to do now by the look of it. Mainly you just want to get that rear shaft out for now. Okay, this next step, you need to remove the wheels from both rear axles. Normally they're not really glued in, they're just pressed in. Sometimes if they're a bit stiff you want to use some sort of fine pliers. You can use red pliers, I use smooth ones so it doesn't damage the shaft at all. But you don't need to apply much pressure and you don't need to pull very hard. They generally just come apart. No need to turn green and angry to get it apart is what I'm saying. So this is the other one. I think that's the longer shaft one. Just rip that sucker out of there. So you can't use the larger scale car's rear shaft in the smaller car because the offsets are wrong and the lengths are wrong. One wheel will poke out one end too much and all that. So you basically have to strip both shafts and then put the wheels back on, the big wheels back on the small shaft. Now I use a foam safe glue when I do this. You only need to put a tiny bit in there. The tiny parts, you only need a tiny bit of glue. The foam safe glue is good because you can use a kicker to get it to set, and it sets as a crystalline. So if you ever require to pull it apart again, it'll hold with the torquing forces and that of that tiny little motor, and it will never ever come undone with the glue. But if you need to get it apart, you can just give it a little bit of twist and a pull, the glue will crack and you can get it apart again. So I tend to use this with all my builds because it's good enough, it's quick and easy, and you can set the glue literally on the spot with the kicker. So you know what you're going to get straight away. And here comes the kicker now, and all you need is a tiny little drop. Basically, it vaporizes off very quickly anyway. If you put too much on, just blow on it once and that's it, you're done. And that's pretty much set by the time I put it down. So now we've got to deal with the front end. Front end is a little trickier. Getting it apart like anything is quick and easy. Basically you've got the two screws in the front there. There's no clips or anything like that. When the body's bolted down, it actually helps. At the front there, it helps screw that front section down, putting pressure on the front. But there's two screws hidden under the board. That's why you've got to lift the board up, just put it side to side. You don't have to take it out all the way. I mean, you can if you want to strip the whole car down. It's just more of a pain in the ass, pain in the bum to get it back together. So once these two screws are done, there's not a lot holding that front together, and getting the rest apart's pretty easy. All you got to do is basically just jiggle the wheels, and there you have it. I did try and film the reassembly process of this. Unfortunately, my camera ran out of battery, but if you want to get one of these back together, put that little magnetic bar, the steering bar that There we go. The steering bar on the left there, you put that back in first, you put the lid back on, and then you feed the wheels in. It looks like that when you put the lid back on. So yeah, sorry about that. Basically, this is the car, body not modified, but I've put the big wheels on. So, I've got limited steering and very limited acceleration. Obviously the wheels are fouling everywhere. So, the next step will be to pull the car apart again, lift the lid off, and open up the body kit. So I'll basically show you how to do that now. But before I do that now, I realise it's probably a good idea to just quickly check the function with the big wheels on and make sure that I have full steering and that there's no fouling or anything on the axle that I've built. And yep, not a problem at all. All works well. The only problem with the car really is that body kit. It'll be the rear wheel arches and the front wheel arches. Okay, so if you're going to do this mod, it's very easy. Just mark out the area or the wheel arches you're about to do with a black texter. This way you know how much material you've taken out as you're moving it, so that you know when you've gotten down to the bottom. You get something round that's just a fraction bigger than the wheel arch. Keep in mind whatever sandpaper you use will make up an extra, make it fatter and make it even bigger again. I tend to use about a 240 or something grit sandpaper. You can use a finer sandpaper than that. And when you finish, you can even get a yellow paint pen or texture and paint the plastic that's now white from your sanding back to a yellow. So basically, if you have a look, you can see there's a little bit left. Just work it down till it's gone. And then go back over both at the same time, just to help balance it out, make sure it's all even. Bob's your uncle, that's it, she's done. That's the rear. It's pretty quick and easy. Now, before you move on to do the front, it's always good to just put the car back together, no screws, and just make sure that the mod actually worked. There's enough room, and the wheels spin freely. You could have cut it a little bit finer, but I'm in a little bit of a hurry. I'm trying to do about 3 cocaine car videos over a week, so that I can have a bit better flow of videos on my channel. Now, I have to do the front, obviously because it's fouling really badly. Pretty much the same process as before. Just mark out the wheel arches, sand out to a slightly larger size, and then get a hobby knife. So you can see my one's been resharpened a bunch of times, it's a bit blunt. You can scrape it away, just cut off a little bit of the excess and thin out the guards a bit from the inside. You can also do this with some sandpaper instead. It's a lot safer than using a hobby knife. There we go. Okay, so this is the final look of the car with the lid back on. These are the wheels that came off the car. As you can see, they're a little bit of a size difference. The ride height of the car has been lifted a little bit by putting these larger wheels on, but it doesn't matter to me. I think it'll work. Time for some testing.